Tonight, especially since Lent starts tomorrow, and prayer is one of the three pillars of Lent, fasting and almsgiving being the other two, I thought that tonight I'd focus on prayer. Prayer is a topic that should always be of great interest to those who have a desire for a more intimate relationship with God. And by that standard, prayer should be of great interest to all Christians. For outside of the sacraments, most especially the most holy Eucharist, prayer is how we commune with our Lord, anywhere, anytime, and even continuously. As St. Paul has said, we are to pray without ceasing. But so often we experience obstacles to prayer, don't we? There are a multitude of reasons why this may happen, but some include, if we are honest, we just don't feel like praying. But there are also those times when we do feel like spending some time with God, but even in the midst of that time, we don't feel like we are praying. Instead, it feels like we're just wasting time, ours and God's. Now, notice how many times I said feel just now. 4 times. When it comes to prayer, feelings are, to put it bluntly, untrustworthy, plain and simple. In prayer, fidelity and faith is what matters, not feelings. For it may well be that I feel like I prayed well, when in fact I didn't. I may feel that I didn't pray well, when in fact I did. A more or less vague feeling that we're not connecting with God or that we're not getting anything out of prayer is not only untrustworthy, but a profound misunderstanding of what prayer is. It can even be a sign of an intense, if unrecognized, selfishness. Unrecognized insofar as we've grown so accustomed to evaluating everything in light of what's in it for me that we even come to evaluate God in that way. But feelings aren't good or bad, they just are. They are often a very important tool in one way in which we evaluate various situations we encounter in life. They provide us a subjective intuition about things we just don't get from our senses. But like any other tool, they can be misused, and we misuse feelings by having them be the primary, and for some, the exclusive factor in judgments and decisions. To put it simply, feelings, which can be quite valuable and sometimes accurate in the material and physical domain, are utterly unreliable in the spiritual domain. Sometimes people either don't pray or stop praying regularly because the feeling they used to get when they prayed is gone, or they don't feel the presence of God whatsoever. But when we experience this, and anyone who prays does at one time or another, just ask St. John of the Cross, St. Teresa, St. Therese, the Little Flower, or Mother Teresa, to name but a few holy souls among thousands who have testified to this experience in their writings. When we experience this, that's a sure sign it's time to ignore our feelings and instead exercise fidelity and faithfulness. The fact is, we know God is present and here with us, whether we feel him or not. We know that his love for us has not changed in the least. And we know that through the eyes of faith, we can be certain of this. Now, excuse me, no analogy is perfect, but a marital analogy is quite accurate in many regards when it comes to properly considering prayer. It's best to start with St. Teresa of Avila's definition of prayer, which the Church herself has used in many of her official documents, including the Catechism. St. Teresa defines contemplative prayer as, quote, nothing else than a close sharing between friends. It means taking time frequently to be alone with Him who we know loves us, unquote. Now, prior to the marriage, the courting and honeymoon phase is typically one of excitement, anticipation, and lots of loving feelings. But really, as wonderful, beautiful, and truly necessary as this time of preparation for marriage is, that is but the beginnings of love. It is but the beginning of intimacy, the beginning of getting to know a person, which will take a lifetime to complete. Now, imagine, if you will, after coming back from the honeymoon, the spouses start evaluating each other like we sometimes evaluate our prayer time. Honey, I really didn't enjoy dinner at the restaurant last night. Not sure why, I just didn't get the same feeling I did when we first went there. Or, sweetheart, I'm just not getting anything out of our time together lately, so I'm going to stay at work a little later, or go out with friends, or just watch some TV. I'll check in with you later, see if anything improves. Would not our spouse be, at the very least, rightly hurt, insulted, and slighted? Is not that attitude an affront to the vows we made, for better or for worse, till death do we part? And yet, how many of us approach prayer rather more like a business deal than a tryst between lovers? As we mature in love, as we mature in our walk with the Lord, He will often take away the early feelings we may have had to determine whether we love Him or the feeling. Only fidelity and faithfulness to the relationship will bring us to a mature, enduring, and self-sacrificing love that newly married lovers long for without even knowing how to put that into words. Only fidelity and faithfulness in prayer will bring us to the point where we learn to gaze into our lover's eyes and explore the depths of love that we have for one another. Father Baldwin, who wrote Difficulties in Mental Prayer and This Tremendous Lover, wrote quite compellingly on looking into God's eyes, as he put it, during prayer. He wrote, quote, "We must make sure to catch God's eye, to look Him in the face, as it were, even though it be for only a moment. To realize the importance of this, one only has to imagine the meeting of two friends between whom there has been a tiny estrangement. They can talk fluently and freely for a long time about indifferent things and still part without any change in their strained relations, as long as they don't look at each other in the face. But the normal man cannot look his friend in the face and maintain his estrangement. He must either make it up or break it up. So it is when we go to pray. We can pray at great length with a wealth of words and still retain a determination to say no to God on some point, as long as we do not catch His eye. But if we stop talking and fooling ourselves with our own words, and just for one tiny second look at our Lord in the face, then we will not be able to continue until we give Him what He wants." Unquote. What our Lord wants is for us to know and love Him as He knows and loves us. That is, with everything we have, with everything we are, with nothing held back. Doing all for the sake of the beloved with no thought of self, like those who know what it truly means to love, like our Lord does for us every moment of our lives. That's what lovers do.